Okie dokie then. Got a little bit of sunburn. I've been out shooting a lot the past few days. Ooh, yum, naked juice. After you drink naked juice, you want to get naked. Of course, no one wants to see that out of me. A lot of you have actually got this Voigtlander 40 millimeter, and you're extremely happy with it, and some of you are reporting back obviously amazing results. Of course, I knew you would. No, I have no connection to Voigtlander whatsoever. I wanted to give you a little analogy here. Everybody says I'm long-winded, and they're like, get to the point. It's like, alright, I'll get to the point. I used to live in Russia. I used to be a Russian translator. I'm not that tall. I'm only 5'11". I think I used to be 6 foot when I wasn't so fat and younger. Whatever, but when I was living in Russia for quite a long time there as a Russian translator, I was really tall because Russians are relatively fairly short people. And most people in the town would be like, oh, Sergey is really tall and he's 5'8". My point is, spectrum of experience. I've actually had a few pissy comments. I mean, I don't care. I don't care about the pissy comments, but Sigma, like Sony, has this Kool-Aid drinking cult fanatic following, and everybody thinks that they spend $1,000 on a stinking ass Sigma art lens, or as I call them, fart lenses, that they've got something good because they spend $1,000 and they have to rationalize the justification to themselves they got a great lens. Now the lens has poor build specifications, it has poor quality control, is cyan shifted. This isn't about Sigma lenses. And the front element is not weather sealed at all. I mean, you can find countless stories of someone that just got a tiny sprinkle of water on the front of their lens just to a brief exposure, and the water immediately crept underneath the front elements and created spots, just immediately. No Nikon lens, even back from the 60s, ever had this issue, but current Sigma lenses do. My point is not to rag on Sigma lenses, although you think that's what I'm doing. The point is spectrum of experience. Now, there's nobody sponsoring me, nobody's got their hand up my ass, and nobody's yanking my chain. It's like a puppet with strings. I don't get paid a dime no matter what you buy. I mean, if you feel you're happy with some crappy super zoom or ultra zoom Nikkor lens like the 18-300, which is a turd, and the current kit lens, which comes with the D750 if you buy it as a kit, which is the 24-120, which is also, not only is it a turd, it's an expensive turd. It's decent enough for taking decent pictures, but I'm not interested in decent lenses, especially ones that are really damn expensive. My point is that whatever sort of bald tattooed freak you think I am, I have the experience to state that I'm actually trying to help you, okay? Nikon and nobody else has got any strings or hands up my fanny. My point is to help you. Now, of all the countless lens recommendations I've had, I think I've only had one pissy feedback, and that was because someone bought a bad example. They got screwed by some eBayer. Not that the lens was bad, but they actually just got a bad example, so they were upset. Partially at me, but it had nothing to do with me because they just got a bad lens. I mean, even Nikon will obviously churn out a bad example. I mean, obviously so. It's a huge corporation, so the feedback really has been 100% positive, but some of the people, some of the pissy comments, which I don't really care about it. Buy whatever you want. I mean, it doesn't make me a dime one way or the other. I'm actually trying to be helpful, and my whole purpose, it's hard to look at this juice and not want to drink it, and it's so damn expensive too, by the way. My whole purpose is to try to be helpful. Like I told, most of you never even heard of this little stinking 40mm Voigtlander lens. I mean, really. You're like, what, Voigtlander, what? Stuff like this, this tiny little pancake lens, which just produces incredible, I mean, it just craps out honey and butter. It's absolutely the tits, including the 28mm, and I'm be reviewing two more Voigtlanders next week. That'll be the 20mm color scope R and the 58mm. But my point is that spectrum of experience. I've said this before. I mean, someone's got 7 Nikkor lenses, or they've owned a dozen Nikkor lenses, and you're like, oh, this is the best Nikon lens in the world because compared to my other 7 Nikon lenses. Well, so what? I mean, it's like, some prisoner that's been in jail for 40 years and, he's telling you about what favorite gruel the slop bucket, dishes out. It's like, whoa, that's pretty narrow spectrum of experience. Unless someone has traveled the world and tasted all the culinary delights of the thousands of different ways you can prepare meat, for example. Some guy that's never left Bumfuck, Kansas, or 20 miles outside thereof, really has no spectrum of experience to say what's good or bad. So, well, opinions are like our souls, and each one of them is unique, and they stink. There is a fact that enough quantity eventually affects quality. And the quality of an opinion has a ranking by which, if there's enough quantity of experience, spectrum of experience behind it, that it's actually worthwhile. Anybody could give some experience on X product, but if someone has only owned one or two varieties of that product, that's a pretty worthless opinion. Now, a worthwhile opinion is someone that's tried them all, or most all of them, and is giving an objective analysis of whether it's worthwhile to purchase it, whether it's a bad value, there's something far better for less money, or the same amount of money you can get a whole lot better. So that's what I offer. So of those snarky comments recently, there's not that many, but you have to take that into consideration, okay? Everybody else that's making lens recommendations on YouTube either doesn't have any spectrum of experience or very limited ones, or they've got a hand up their ass, or they got strings around them like a puppet. So I don't trust someone with limited spectrum of experience. Like, I've owned 10 Nikkor lenses, and this lens is the best. Well, 10 lenses out of the countless hundreds of lenses Nikon has spit out in the past 30 years is pretty limited, and also doesn't include the spectrum of other lenses manufactured by Tamron and Sigma, which of course we've already talked about Sigma being pretty worthless in general. They really haven't changed any. Tamron is going to kick their ass. They are right now. Sigma's in real deep trouble. Sigma does have some really good marketing, by the way. But so did the cigarette folks who would actually do awesome cigarette ads in the newspaper. We all know that gave you cancer, make your balls drop off, but the cigarette makers had really good advertising, and so does Sigma on their art series. Analogously, those two are somewhat similar. My point being is that, buy whatever makes you happy, but, I'm actually trying to be helpful, and, 99% of you know that, but for the 1% that just think that everything I say is just a worthless opinion, well, you have to look at that objectively and see what my agenda is, okay? I'm not making any money off whether you buy something or you don't, okay? And, I haven't got a single penny from Takina, and God knows I probably sold 100,000 of their 100mm 2.8 macro lenses, but, if you don't like me and you think I'm a freaking weirdo, that's fine. But whoever you go to for a lens recommendation or gear recommendation relative to lenses, do they have this spectrum of experience to actually state something that's worthwhile? And B, do they have a hand up their ass and they're being sponsored by some? Because there's some of these people out there that are pushing the Sigma lenses. I won't say who it is, but that person wears makeup in all his videos and is an egomaniac. And you can probably guess who I'm talking about. And he's always talking about Sigma lenses. And that person is sponsored by Sigma. I won't say who that is, but I guess you could guesstimate who it is I'm referring to. So, anyway, just use your brain, okay? See who has an agenda, who doesn't. Who has a spectrum of experience to actually say whether something's good or not because they have a basis of relative comparison. It's like so many people that bought this 40mm Voigtlander off my recommendation. Like, oh my god, I've never knew a lens could be that great. The color, the depth, color saturation, the depth, the sharpness is just incredible. I've never even heard of this damn company before. Why have I never heard of it before? Well, because they got a really small budget and they've got no sponsors. And that's why nobody's heard about it. Because if you don't see 100 ads in a photography magazine, or if you don't have some asshole out there that's sponsoring the product, you've probably not heard of it before. But that doesn't mean it's no good. It just means that you haven't heard about it before. Anyway, use your brain and, make a logical recommendation based upon criteria that I just mentioned. Thanks.